My name's Matt Rager. I'm Trisha's husband, and we've been doing this business for since 2016, full-time since 2017. So we've been doing this for a while. And I really wanted to do this video at the beginning of the year so that you guys could basically start off on the right foot and kind of not have to wade through the weeds like we did when we were learning how to do this business. So as new people are jumping on board, as you guys are growing, that you are going to be able to not have to worry about the whole tax thing. Basically, we all have these visions of what we want this Plexus business to be for us. And stressful is not usually in that in that category, let's say. And that's usually what goes along with taxes. So if we start off the beginning of the year with a little bit of preparation, it's going to avoid that altogether. So basically, I've gone through three kind of learning phases with the whole tax preparation thing. And those phases are going to kind of line up with different ranks, different and different income levels. So basically, the three phases of tax preparation, it's going to go from like silver to the senior gold range, and then from ruby to emerald, roughly, and then from emerald to diamond, let's say. Each of those income levels is going to kind of reflect the tax preparation that you can do and the tax preparation that you might need to be thinking about. So when you're just starting off, you don't need to get really sophisticated and fancy with different tax preparation. Basically, you need to be able to save money with each paycheck that you give yourself. And that's the biggest thing that you need to be thinking about. Let's say silver to roughly senior gold. Okay, the biggest thing that you need to worry about is just that you're preparing for your tax. You don't need to do anything fancy and cool like start businesses or record everything. I would just roughly suggest saving 20 to 25% of everything that you have so you have it later on. And it made me just realize I don't want to give you specific instructions for your business. I've got to kind of qualify that you need to be talking to a tax professional. So this is just general tax advice, not specific advice to your situation. So these are guidelines. But if you're saving 20 to 25%, technically you should be saving this stuff, or you could be paying this stuff quarterly, but you don't want to, as long as you're saving it at the end of the year, you're going to have the money. If you spend it all and don't prepare for this ahead of time, you're basically going to be learning a hard lesson about everyone paying their fair share. So for most people, most tax brackets, if you're saving somewhere in this 20 to 25% of everything that you make, you can just have a separate bank account and put that in there every single time. Just make it a habit, thinking ahead, and you're going to have that money at the end of the year because this business, it's not a W-2. We work as contractors. So when we get paid, we just get straight income. They don't have any taxes set aside at all, and we have to do that ourselves. Now, it's kind of easy whenever you work for an employer, they do that and you don't really think about it. But I think this gives you a lot more of an appreciation of what you're doing with your taxes and developing that next level of professionalism, let's say. So, but from like silver to senior gold, when you get started around senior gold range, you're going to be making a decent amount of money, but it's still not going to be like whenever you're diamond. Okay, let's say, because whenever you're diamond, that tax burden is a little bit bigger. So it's pretty simple up front. As long as you're just preparing and saving and thinking about your taxes, it's not that bad right there. The next level is kind of that ruby to emerald phase. Unfortunately, you're going to have to look at my sloppy handwriting because I don't know how to get my cool graphic to pull up the right size. When you start into this ruby and emerald phase, you're going to be making a lot more money. And obviously, this is what we're all aspiring to, and this is all what we're hoping for, is moving in this direction. But once you get here, you are going to have to start thinking of yourself more as a professional and elevating that a little bit more. Now, I did want to say, technically, it doesn't matter how much money you're making. You don't have to get fancy with your taxes. So if it stresses you out and you don't mind spending more money on taxes, you could just do this forever. The silver to senior gold range, just save that whatever percentage of money that you need to for your tax bracket, setting that aside, and it could be that simple forever. You never have to worry about it. But if you want to not have to owe as many taxes, so we don't want to get into tax evasion. Tax evasion is when we're not paying taxes that we're supposed to. But as you move into this slightly more sophisticated range of taxes, we want to avoid having to owe them to begin with. And you do that through what most people call tax write-offs. But in reality, they're just business expenses. So there's no such thing necessarily as a tax write-off. You have business expenses. And so, it's going to be in right there. Also at this ruby emerald phase, you are not doing this alone, probably. You've got other people who are joining you, and you're helping them learn, you're helping them grow. And in doing so, this is the area where you need to start thinking of yourself as a leader a little bit more too, and anticipating these silvers and golds who are growing up, anticipating that they might not be thinking about taxes, especially if all that they've ever done is work for some, a regular employer. They're not a 1099 contractor. They might not be anticipating this, and this can really be something that messes with people's heads. A lot of people base their whole year planning financially around tax returns and what they're getting back and whatnot, and it can mess with people. It could, as you start making more money, the vision that they had of themselves in this business might give them a bit of an identity crisis. And if you are ahead of that curve, if you anticipate that for them and help them navigate this, help them start learning to set aside that money so that they prepare for their taxes, it's not going to be an issue, because they're going to be expecting it. They're going to see it coming because you help them. You basically were that leader for them. But at this point, you're making a decent amount of money, the ruby to emerald range. You're making a decent amount of money, but it's not an outrageous amount. You don't necessarily need to start a business at that point, an LLC or something like that, but you do want to start looking into, you are going to want to start looking at creating a separate bank account. Let's see the undo button there. Separate bank account. Because you do not want to be commingling your funds. You don't want to have your business funds and your personal funds all running out of the same account. On the silver to gold range, you're also going to want to think about maybe just a separate savings account. Okay, so nothing too crazy. Separate savings account for that, just so that you have it at the end of the year and you're not touching it and developing that. But for the emerald to gold range, You might not need the business, but I would suggest a completely separate bank account that you pay into. You pay all your Plexus income into, and then pay yourself from that bank account. And you can also do your savings through that also. But at this point, you're going to want to start thinking about tax or business expenses, tax write-offs, let's say. You're going to be probably going to business conferences or maybe taking a coaching program, something like that. All of that is a business expense that, from the eyes of the IRS or the government, you could take that off of your taxes. It's not income because you had to spend this money in order to conduct your business, in order to grow. And so you can start looking at tax write-offs. But if you're doing that, and this is the reason why you're going to want a separate bank account, you need to be able to track all your expenses. So you're going to have to get into some accounting and some basic bookkeeping if you want to write that off, particularly keeping receipts. You can do this all digitally online, but keeping receipts so that if the IRS comes knocking, you could say, hey, this is the Daniel G coaching program that I took to, help my business move forward. This is how it does that. And they'll see, oh yeah, that's a business expense. You can write that off and it doesn't count towards your taxes or towards your income. And that is going to start helping you not owe the taxes to begin with. The next kind of phase is where you're definitely at this point becoming a professional. And this is your sapphire, emerald, sapphire, your jewel range. At this point, you're probably making enough money that you need to be looking at incorporating business. Obviously, you need to talk to your tax person to figure out exactly what that is going to look like, but forming a business. Now, a lot of the stuff, it seems like it might be maybe difficult, but everything in this business is figure outable. I figured it out. I have never even imagined myself owning a business or doing network marketing, anything like that. And I figured all this stuff out. And I just want to help you guys anticipate this and know that it exists so you don't have to learn it the hard way. But you're forming a business. Sorry. There is a lot more that you can do. And I don't know how far I want to get into the weeds with it. But when you do that, I will just tell you basically what we do. So we formed an LLC with the state. And then we did that around the emerald mark, somewhere around in there. And we pay ourselves an actual salary. So we are employees in our business and we pay ourselves a salary. And on that salary, we pay Social Security and all the stuff that you see on your normal W-2 pay stub, but you try to ignore. We pay that just like that. But we only do that on a part of our income. So part of our income is our salary. Anything above that, anything that's left over, we can pay ourselves as an owner draw. And on that, you don't have to pay the salary, or you don't have to pay the Social Security and all those other benefits that you set aside in your salary. So that reduces your taxes. But also, we have our children on our payroll. So there are lots and lots of different tax business expenses, let's say. But we also have our kids on payroll. So they have jobs, they have responsibilities that they have to do, and we can articulate those responsibilities to anybody that would be asking. to justify that that salary is legitimate, and we're not just trying to evade taxes, that we just have a legitimate business expense, and our kids get to pay up to $13,000 a year that they don't have to write because they're under 18. They don't have to do taxes. And so uh, I will look at that in a minute. Somebody asked a question or left a comment. So our kids, they don't have to pay taxes on anything under $13,000 federal taxes. They do have a little bit of state taxes. So there is $13,000 that our kids can have instead of having to pay that salary and taxes. Does that make sense? So in the Emerald Diamond range, you're going to want to think about setting up business, and you're going to have to do bookkeeping through that. Now, it's pretty simple. We use QuickBooks, and I record everything that we do. It's not that complicated. It automatically downloads everything, and I just have to categorize it. So I don't want to blow your minds with that, because that's something that a lot of you it's going to be down the road a few months, hopefully. But it is something that you can be thinking about, like, as you grow, as you do this business, where is it going to lead to? Also, through that, when you form a business, there's a form that you fill out with Plexus, send it to them, and it will basically switch over from them paying you personally to your Social Security to them paying your business directly. And that simplifies things a little bit there. This is kind of everything that I wanted to talk about. I wanted to just go through the spiel ahead of time, and then kind of open it up for questions, so we can navigate that a little bit more. Okay, so the first one is, how do we add kids? Is it a PA thing that our child has to be 14 to work? So this is where you need to be asking your tax professional. So I only know some of the things that exist, but I can't specifically say. Each state is very different. Some states don't have any income tax. Some states are much more expensive. So I don't know specifically, but basically we just hired them like we would any other employee. The accountant set it all up, and now they're on payroll. It was pretty simple, to be honest. It didn't take that much. Did that answer your question at all, Christy? Okay. Is there anything else that, like, you guys, any questions that you have or thinking about with tax preparation throughout the year, or anything that you might be worried about particularly? You can put it in the chat, or you can unmute yourself. It doesn't matter either way. All right, so it doesn't look like anybody has questions. It's a little bit rambling. Okay. Okay, so it's been helpful. That's good. I will try to get you a copy of my cool graphics, and we will see that hopefully later. The biggest thing that I would just suggest, if you're just starting out, if you're senior or you're silver, gold, just getting going, once you make over $600, Plexus is going to send you a 1099 at the end of the year saying that they sent you that money, and you're going to have to record that on your taxes. As far as recording it, it's not that difficult, but it all depends on how you have this set up. But just starting out, and as you have people growing up in this business, and you need to be thinking as leaders, how can I prepare them for this? So got a little frog in my throat. How do we prepare them so that they're ready for this whenever tax time comes? Make sure that they know they need to be saving this money and ahead of time. That's the biggest takeaway. The other stuff, obviously, you can write to me, talk to me, and we can navigate that more once you get up into the higher ranks. But okay, besides training and kids, what are other expenses do you find? So our computers, anytime we buy a new computer that I'm going to be using for business expenses, that's a business expense. Let's see. Yeah, if you fly to a Plexus event where you're going to be learning or growing and getting all the Plexus info, that's a business expense. Trying to think of the kids being on there is kind of like a big golden nugget a little bit, but okay. I'm trying to think of else. Basically, anything that you spend money on that moves your business forward. So if you buy samples to hand out, buy those through your business account. If you now, all these tax write-offs, they don't kind of really apply to stage one, let's say, unless you want to. At any point in time, you guys can itemize your taxes, which is basically what you're going to be doing, but you need to record that. So internet and cell phone, we pay our cell phone on that. You might want to ask your accountant about the internet. We don't pay our internet through that, but we probably could. You could technically get, like, if you're paying out of pocket for health insurance, I think there are things that you can set up for that, but we're just paying those personally right now. Rebates, exactly. Yeah. So let's say you have somebody pay, or you do some kind of incentive deal where, hey, everybody orders from now until midnight, you get free shipping, and you reimburse that shipping cost. That's a business expense. If you host a sip and see, and your family comes or whoever's coming, and you buy some supplies for that sip and see, that's all going to be a business expense. Yep. So I see everybody who gets the business expenses because I go through there and categorize it. So I get to kind of see where that money is flowing to and who's growing at that time. Let's see, what other business expenses are there out there? Well, I can't think of any right now, but if I think of some, I can put that in my little fancy slide if I can get that set up. But does anyone else have any questions? I was a little bit rambly. I apologize about that, but any other questions? Any other things that you're concerned about, what you're thinking about? Okay. Well, it looks like everybody's good to go. I just want to thank you all for jumping on here, and I really am excited about this year. That's the other reason why I wanted to do this. I meant to say this at the beginning. I genuinely believe that the people on this team are going to be leading the Plexus momentum for the year. And so I knew there are going to be a lot of people who this whole tax thing is new to them, a lot of people growing on this team, and I wanted you guys to be prepared for it. So if you have any questions, you can write to me or pass them along through whatever means you need to get to me, and I'll help you however I can. Obviously, like I said, I can't give you specific information, but I can give you general information so that you know what kind of conversations to have with your tax guy. So with that, I think we're going to wrap this up, and I appreciate you guys being here. Later.